our statistics are worse than in humans. So our
Really?
cancer rates in dogs, they say is 1 out of 1.65. That is almost a 10-year-old statistic. And in my practice, it is almost 100% of the dogs that come in with an ailment that are diagnosed with a cancer diagnosis. It's extremely high. Cats, they say, is 1 out of 3. And I can guarantee you, Freddie, that's highly underreported.
Welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel, and on this show we explore the survivor's journey, practitioners making a difference, and the therapeutic treatments and transformational technology that allow the body to heal itself. Witness the inspiration we gain by navigating the human experience with grace, humility, and a healthy dose of mistakes. Because part of being human is being beautifully broken. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I am here with Dr. Siegel, Mr. Higgs, and Freddie Kimmel. We actually have a dog on this podcast for the first time ever. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. How are you? It's so honorable to be here with Mr. Higgs and you.
I know. And it's obviously Mr. Higgs is a dog of a certain, we don't like to say age, but he's a dog of a certain years. And all the things, since I've came into his life, I've had him doing a little red light therapy, little PEMF. So awesome. I'm always trying to improve quality of life through all the tech that I have at the house. He's not an experiment, but I only do the things on him that I know are safe. And I'd love to talk about some of that stuff with you today.
Awesome. All right. Can I ask one question back? What is Mr. Higgs eating?
He's eating really clean food, whole foods. I know there's lots of chicken in there because we make chicken breasts for him and cut them up in there. Vegetables, drinks lots of water. He's a good walker and a good pooper. That's kind of all I know.
Okay, so we have a lot of room on the diet.
Okay.
A lot of room to make improvements on the diet. So you tell me where you want to start, but I sure want to make sure we get to the diet portion because that is so important.
Great. Well, I'm going to set him down only because he's so warm. All right, we're going to let him go lay on the that's his favorite PEMF mat. Before we get into Mr. Higgs' dietary platform, if we bumped into each other on the street, what would you tell me you do for a living?
I do bioregulatory veterinary medicine. I find the root cause of dis-ease and I fix it.
Amazing. And you do that for pets or people?
Just pets, although it's very interesting that as I'm doing it for the pet parent oftentimes says, oh, should I be doing something like that for me? And so inadvertently, they do make lifestyle changes for themselves.
That's incredible. Now, I am certified in bioregulatory medicine. I went to the Biomed Center with Dr. Dixon Tom. Do you know Dr. Tom?
I don't.
Oh, he's excellent. But I had no idea that there was bioregulatory medicine for pets.
I'm probably the only one that's doing it. So that's why it's not a big thing. We hear the buzzword holistic a lot, and that has a lot of misconceptions. So people think holistic means some kind of woo-woo, unproven stuff. And it's really not. Holistic simply means it's the whole body. You're looking at body, mind, and spirit. And then when we talk about integrative medicine, that's a buzzword we hear a lot now. And that means they're blending the Eastern allopathic medicine with our Eastern arts. And certainly we do that as well. But taking it one step further, that really makes that differentiation is understanding how the biology of the body works and then being able to support those biological pathways so that we understand what are we doing that's inhibiting them or making them deficient, or what can we do to help support them? And at the end of the day, it's the body that does the healing. We're just supporting the body in doing that.
You're speaking my language. This is beautiful. So I had no idea. So you obviously, when you started in veterinary medicine, you didn't start this way.
Oh, no. It was the straight allopathic, like everybody gets trained, human or animal. And then there's always that life-changing experience where something happens and all of a sudden you realize that the veil is getting holes in it and you start seeing through, and then you want to know what's on the other side, or you have to go to the other side because there's no longer the things that you need where you're at. And that was for me. I had an accident with one of my show horses and my youngest daughter. And the horse saved my daughter's life, literally. And in the quest to fix the horse, I was told, sorry, Dr. Siegel, by equine vets, there's nothing more that can be done. You could either retire her at 7 years of age. This is a U.S. national champion, a U.S. Canadian national champion. Most importantly, this horse saved my daughter's life. And they said, either put her out to pasture or you can put her down. And it was those words that just were unacceptable. And I just knew in the core of who I was that not only was that not a true answer, but it was my job to find out what answers there were. And that set me on a quest. And it was 20 plus years ago, like almost 20 years. Let me see, she's 30. So yeah, 20 years ago that I started on this journey. And every day I'm still looking for new things that I can incorporate into my modalities. And as it is, I have more alternative integrative therapies than anybody in the entire world.
Incredible. I have such a sense of love and admiration for the people that get to experience your center for their pets. What a treat for them. They probably don't even realize what they're getting.
At first, they don't, but then it is transformative for everybody, and myself included, because every experience has another layer that it adds to either the joy or the learning or the ascension or whatever you want to call it, but everyone is special. And then each of those people take their story out into the world and they influence more people. And I like to say that we started out as a ripple and then it turned into a wave. And I am working towards that tidal wave where it's a tsunami and we have more and more people that are realizing that not only is there a lot that we can do, but it's in the power that we own that we can do it. We don't have to look to an outside source. It is within our own capacity. But step number one is we have to learn what's truth. We have to learn what's available to us, and then we have to be able to implement it. A lot of people, they learn a lot, they immerse themselves in knowledge, but then they get analysis paralysis and they don't know where to start. So they don't do anything.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to be stuck there. So not only do I educate them and I give them a format, but we hold their hand and we help them to implement one step at a time.
I think that's clutch. It's so overwhelming. And many times, 2 times this week, people have reached out with, my hormones are tanking. What do I do? What do I take? And I was like, it's a little more in depth than that. It's like people want the supplement or they want the technology. And it really is, like you said at the top of the podcast, it's holism. And I am such a firm believer. I actually journal about the different bioregulatory systems once in a while and just kind of talk to my body and see what may or may not need support. Now, I have so many questions for you. In the world, your patient population of animals, is there a chronic disease epidemic like there are in humans?
We not only have it, our statistics are worse than in humans. So our cancer
Really?
rates in dogs, cancer rates in dogs, they say is 1 out of 1.65. That is almost a 10-year-old statistic. And in my practice, it is almost 100% of the dogs that come in with an ailment that are diagnosed with a cancer diagnosis. It's extremely high. Cats, they say, is 1 out of 3. And I can guarantee you, Freddie, that's highly underreported. So cancer is off the charts, and that's your end degeneration example of what's happening in the body. But there is other things as well. We have osteoarthritis, we have chronic skin problems, we have animals with vomiting and diarrhea. It is so over the top. Obesity is an issue. So everything that's affecting the human population, but worse for the animals because they're just inundated.
Yeah, that I thought this question through when we started, and I was like, I bet she's going to say no, only because I would assume on some level animals are able to shake off the stress response better. And then my other thought was, well, they're so energetically tied to us. When we're suffering, they're suffering, and that has to have an impact on the nervous system.
Oh, 100%. So we don't see what I could classify as cell danger response mode per se, because the animals don't have to be stuck there. What they are doing, though, is they're in training to the energy of their pet parent, as you just alluded to. And so if you have a family environment where it's all sympathetic tone. They're racing out in the morning. People are sleep deprived. The kids are having issues. And then you get home at the end of the day and you're exhausted and you're trying to get everybody homework done and you got bad food being served, or you're going to the fast food restaurant because it's easier and more convenient. And all of these factors, credit card stress, arguments with spouses, everything leads to high sympathetic tone. And that animal is just then in training to this high sympathetic tone. It doesn't know where that saber-toothed tiger is. It just knows that you're telling it there is something out there and I have to be on high alert. So from a cellular perspective, yes, they are staying in high sympathetic tone, which doesn't enable them to get into that good parasympathetic state. And in order to be able to detox, regenerate, and heal. And also include in that, Freddie, is the EMF exposure. So we get to leave the house periodically, but
Mm-hmm.
the average household has so much smart appliances and the computers and the Wi-Fi and the routers and the 5G and then the neighbor's 5G. And all of that EMF is leading to another entire layer of stress that is
Mm-hmm.
collapsing the fourth phase water. Have you talked to your audience about the fourth phase of water? Or structured water?
Yes. I have actually, somebody just told me that the regulatory bodies hate that word now. They're like, don't use fourth phase. So it's
Oh,
fourth
here's
phase,
water,
structured water.
structured
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
whatever. It's all
Yeah.
the same thing. But, our fascia, the water in the body, when that collapses, we actually do live blood studies. So when that fourth phase of water, or whatever we want to call it, when it collapses, and it 100% collapses with EMF exposure. So I've
Yeah.
done many studies where I've taken a little hand fan, one of those USB fans, you plug it into the
Yep.
computer to charge it, and you hold that close to your body for 2 minutes and you
Mm-hmm.
have instant rouleau. The red blood cells are sticking together, and you created that in less than 2 minutes by just that exposure. So I would imagine if we studied a cell phone, it would be a very similar experience, or sitting in front of a Wi-Fi router, or sitting in front of your laptop, which is not hardwired. All of that, we can measure the EMF coming off of it with a meter. It's ridiculously high.
Yeah. Explain that to the audience, if you will, just for a second, the Rouleau effect, because working in the world of pulsed electromagnetic field, I've seen that improve dramatically in a PEMF
Yes,
session. So if you
yes,
will.
absolutely. So this fourth phase of water actually has a negative charge. So imagine if you have a tennis ball and you put that tennis ball in a bucket of water. You just literally push it down. The whole surface area of that tennis ball is engaged with the water that's around it. Now imagine that you take and you pack as many tennis balls into that bucket as you can. And it's so packed that the tennis balls are squished up next to each other. And so most of the surface area is interfacing with another tennis ball and not so much the water around it, because you have so many tennis balls packed together. That is what happens to our red blood cells when
Mm.
we have this condition called rouleau or aggregation. It means that the negative charge that's supposed to surround that cell has collapsed, and now there's no separating charge. So now they get stuck together. And it's another common term I'm hearing a lot, is they call it sticky blood. And
Yeah.
it simply means that these cells are starting to stick together instead of being separate. Now their surface area is covered. They're not picking up as much oxygen, which means they can't deliver as much oxygen to the tissues. Their other job is to pick up waste material from their surface membrane and deliver it out the body. So now they're not only not oxygenating well, but you're also not detoxing well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. I always like the image of, I tell people it's a net positive charge on the inside of the cell and net negative on the outside. And you try to push two negatives of battery together, they're going to repel and make space. So the little cells can do their job, deliver oxygen, nutrients in the small little capillaries of the fingers. That has to have a dramatic impact on pain. People always tell me, they're like, I feel so good when I go to the beach. I was like, ion exchange, bare feet, salt water.
Absolutely. And that
Yeah.
happens for our pets as well. But there's a lot of things: radiant energy, certain nutraceuticals, PEMF devices. We use a light tower. It is a series of stainless steel plates that are put together in a certain configuration, and they're treated with something called a plasmonic. So when the light hits it, the ambient light from fluorescent lights or EMF, whatever, when that comes into the plate and is reflected off, it changes it from incoherent light to coherent light. and it's the coherent light that we are made of. So it syncs with our body and helps to restore more of a natural balance.
Yeah. When we, revisit the topic of this idea that there is a chronic illness epidemic within pets, do you have a working theory on the main drivers that are causing that?
Oh, easy peasy. Number one is nutrient deficiencies, and those are of the essential nutrients that the body needs to do its job: vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, amino acids. Absolutely. Number two are toxicities. And we do a lot of mineral studies and we do a lot of heavy metal studies. So we know that mercury, cadmium, strontium, arsenic, these are so prevalent in these animals. It's coming from our water, it's coming from the chemtrails raining on our head. So we have an extreme exposure to heavy metals. And then you combine the nutrient deficiencies with the heavy metal toxicities, and that leads to mitochondrial dysfunction. So the little powerhouses that are supposed to make energy for us aren't able to make enough energy to sufficiently run the systems. And those mitochondria also talk to the microbiome. So all those organisms that live in and on us have to be given instructions. So the mitochondria speaks to the microbiome, and it helps by interpreting what's happening in the environment. It helps to decide what gene expression you are going to have. So you mess up those three systems and you have a disaster in hand. And there actually is a fourth piece, and that is the trapped emotions that are associated with all dis-ease. That gets into a little bit more of the woo-woo side, but there is always trapped emotions associated with all dis-ease. And Freddie, I'm being very careful to say the word dis-ease as it's hyphenated and not disease, because I really don't believe there's disease in the world. I think it's simply an expression of imbalance. When the body is not at ease, it is at dis-ease. And it's the body talking to us. We're just not listening.
Yeah, I would join with you in that. I think it's, the body is what heals, right? And the body will heal, and we can make these repeated failed attempts to achieve homeostasis, and then we land at this new balance of a chronic loop,
Yeah.
really. And because I've seen so many people get out of the chronic loop and reverse chronic illness through lifestyle and behavioral changes that I just, I've seen it enough times that I don't need a white paper on it. I know it works. I know
Yeah.
it's factual. Again, when we talk about the pet population, I can only imagine, you said nutrient density, nutrient quality of the food. I mean, animal food must be the worst, like last remnants of proteins and vitamins and vegetables that are going into that food supply. What's been your experience of that, and where do people go to get good food for their pets?
So let's talk about what processed foods actually mean. So a processed food is where they take material and they heat it at very high temperatures because they're trying to kill the pathogens. Most of these products are not of highest quality. And
Hmm.
so they heat it at high temperatures, which then kills the enzymes that were originally in the food to help in digestion. And then they add synthetic nutrients to try to balance it. And then they add a lot of carbohydrates because, in order for, let's say, a kibble, those little dry, crunchy
Yeah.
things that would come in a bag, in order to stick that together, they used to use corn. And then people go, oh, corn's bad for dogs. Yes, it is. And so then they started going to potato starch or other forms of carbohydrates, but it's still a carbohydrate. So dogs are scavenger carnivores. And a scavenger carnivore means that they've been around man's garbage long enough that they have adapted to being able to tolerate some of the excess carbohydrates that we have in our diets. But
Hmm.
only tolerate it doesn't mean that they are thriving on it, just means they
Yeah.
can tolerate it. Cats are still considered obligate carnivores. They have no dietary requirement for carbohydrates. And yet, if you were to calculate the carbohydrate content in the average kibble or canned diet, it is
Mm.
40 to 60% sugar. Now, that's like saying, I don't want to put the gas in my car, so I want to use a different type of gas. Or maybe I want to use water or sand or something else, right? Your car's not going to run with the wrong fuel source. But we are led down a sad path because the body is designed to survive. So, under less than ideal circumstances, we don't just stop running, we don't stop working, but we go into a mode of survival in the hopes that things are going to turn around on the next season and you're going to go back to thriving. So this was our adaptation that we were able to use for a millennium when it was wintertime and you ran out of food and you couldn't find anything. You almost went into starvation, but then springtime came and then you were able to find food again. These hormetic stressors that we have been adapted to are fabulous. These are stressors that our bodies endure, and that could be fasting, it could be high intensity exercise. There's a variety of different things that we experience, but what they do is they help communicate to our genetic makeup what's happening in our environment and how can we best adapt to survive. That's a good thing. The problem with our modern world is we've not only lost those hormetic stressors because of our lifestyle, but we're also adding in these layers of toxicity so that we can't ever leave that survival mode and go into thriving. So, as an example, we feed our animals twice a day, if not leave it in the bowl all day. They weren't designed to eat like that. They really were designed to eat at dawn and dusk. They were designed to get hungry enough to go out and expend the energy that was needed to hunt down something, wrestle it, kill it, tear into it, eat it in the state that they killed it in,
Yeah.
and then stuff themselves when it was available and then go back in the den to digest. I mean, that's literally how they were designed to do it. And they ate meat, fat, bone, and organ meat. They got some of the intestinal juice in their mouth as they were ripping the intestines out to get to the organ meat. So this was a biological system that worked really well. Man comes along and we make this Franken food. It's not even real food. It's processed. It doesn't have the nutrient density. It doesn't have the biological processes that that animal needs in order to thrive. So dogs don't have amylase in their saliva, neither do cats. So they were literally not designed to be the primary eater of a carbohydrate. Nature doesn't waste energy doing mistakes. So nature did not put amylase in the mouth because they never intended dogs to go out and eat cornfields and raw vegetables. What they did design them to do was eat that material already digested and fermented in the intestinal tract of the herbivore that they were eating. So it was a beautiful system. We've just messed it up. And I really do find that a lot of people that feed vegetables, and I know you mentioned that in what you feed Mr. Biggs there, that these animals aren't really getting the benefit of those vegetables like we think they are. Number one, they have a hard time digesting them. Number two, if they're not organic, they're getting a lot of pesticides. Number three, even if they can digest it, they're using their pancreas to do so. And we don't know the nutrient content of those vegetables. Are they grown on regenerative farming land, or are they grown on commercial lands, even if it's organic, that doesn't really have the micronutrient content that we're looking for? So we just don't know what we're eating today. What is that nutrient value? So for me, I like to make sure that I feed the macronutrients. And disclaimer, I do have a raw food company. And so we create a diet that's balanced with the meat, fat, bone, and organ meat. I call that the macronutrients. And then I have a supplement line that is the micronutrients, the essential vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, and amino acids that I know the body needs in order to function. Once I supply that, I fix the gut, make sure there's not a leaky gut, and we make sure that we're supporting the microbiome with fermented foods and a nice variety of fermented foods. And then we have a system where that animal has the potential to thrive.
Have you ever, I'm so interested, have you ever done a stool diagnostic on an animal to see what their microbiome should look like? Do you know that?
Yeah, there is a company that does microbiome stool analysis. I think the problem that I have with it, it's not that it's a bad thing, but it's only testing for a smattering of organisms. We have trillions of
Right.
microorganisms in the gut, and we actually use more functional genes. Functional genes are the genes that tell our DNA what to do. We actually use more functional genes from them, the bacteria, the fungi, et cetera, even the parasites. We're using their functional genes, 90% so, to run our body. So when we're looking at the microbial population of ourselves or our pets, we're not looking at the whole spectrum. We're looking at a little tiny fraction. It's like not even a sand kernel on the whole beach. And we're trying to make assessments. So it's nice to look at some of the keystone species. But again, when we start to look at how do we flourish with a wide diversity of microorganisms that are all contributing to our genetic gene functioning. And the more we lose of those microbes, the more genetic functional machinery we're losing as a species.
Yeah, I say often, in fact, there's a solo episode that will come out before this one. It's on keystone strains, and it's about how we tend to focus so much on what we're eating, not what our capable microbiome is digesting. And there's so many people blindly trusting either a magazine or a fitness influencer to follow some platform that you don't know that is beneficial for your body.
Yeah.
Team. After battling Lyme disease and cancer for 20 years, I'm always on the lookout for cutting-edge ways to slow biological age and repair damaged tissue. A key factor is our body's ability to produce stem cells, a process that unfortunately declines sharply after age 30. In fact, age-related disease can reduce your stem cells by up to 50%. This is where Stem Regen comes in. This is a stem cell booster that has personally helped me, increasing circulating stem cells by up to 300 million in 1 month. You heard that right. Stem Regen optimizes your body's repair system using powerful adaptogens to naturally enhance the stem cell production within the body. For full scientific deep dive research, you can check out episode 179 with founder Christian Drapeau. And I'm excited to share that Stem Regen offers a 30-day money-back guarantee on purchases through the official website. You can use code BEAUTIFULLYBROKEN for $30 off your first order. Let's go, let's grow, let's repair. Ladies and gents, take a break from the show and allow me to get up on a soapbox. I want to spotlight Silver Biotics Wound Gel. This is a product that is an antimicrobial layer that helps with cuts, lacerations, skin irritations, and first and second degree burns. So it utilizes silver sol technology, which we've talked about. This is the ability to steal electrons from pathogens, making it more effective in the body. So the company has substantiated its claims with 420 independent studies, as well as 60 patents pending on this groundbreaking tech. So I endorse it because it works, but also due to the extensive research and scientific validation the company has done. So in an independent in vitro report, this is very important, we compared Armor Gel to 7 other similar skincare products, such as triple antibiotic ointment, the standard of care. The study focused on the kill rate for MRSA, VRE, E. coli pathogens responsible for severe emergency room infections. Within a 4-hour window, Armor Gel completely neutralized the pathogens, and this was a feat that was unmatched by any other product in the study. So the Silver Biotics Wound Gel stands out not only for its performance, but actually its price point. So this is a must-have for moms, for coaches, nurses, doctors, anybody concerned about the body's largest organ, the skin. And in today's environment, I just saw a fact where MRSA infections are up 35% since 2020. This is crucial. So we just need to be prepared. Don't wait for an emergency room trip. This is something to have in your cupboard. It's under $20 and you get 30% off using the code BeautifullyBroken at checkout. This company is giving this to you at cost by using this code, and they are not only a sponsor of the podcast, but they are friends, and I support what they're doing in the world. Let's jump back into the show. What about probiotics in pets? Is that differ dramatically from what a human would require? I know I've had good results with some soil-based Bacteroides fragilis or Akkermansia or Bifidomaximus. Those have all been great for me. What do pets generally need?
Their species are similar, and then there are some unique ones. However, and there's white papers on this, which I think is interesting. When you are rescuing the gut, which is decimated, then including these keystone species is very important. But that's a short term. Once you get them established, then you want to start encouraging the rest of the microbiome to develop. And the white papers that are out there have actually shown that initially, when you are supplementing with these species, initially you get a nice spike. And then you reach a plateau where you're not getting the diversity because they
Mm,
become the bully, they become the dominant
yeah.
species, not part of the team. And so I think if you have to do a rescue, absolutely you can do that. But then you need to be doing things that encourage the diversity and the balance of the microbes. So that's all creating a happy terrain. And I like to think of it as we are the planet for our microbes. We live on
Yeah.
planet Earth, and we use planet Earth to support ourselves biologically speaking. And the microbes are looking to us as being their planet. Without us, they can't survive. So they're looking at us maintaining a healthy terrain. And when we do get pathogens, it's simply because the terrain is becoming so inhospitable that you have to have pathogens which have a little more capability of surviving in unideal circumstances. But annihilating all the pathogens is not the answer. They're not our enemy. They're simply telling us your terrain is bad. It's like saying I live in a food forest. So this is an analogy I live dearly. So when I have a lot of weeds coming in, it's telling me my soil isn't happy. The weed's not the enemy. The weed is telling me that my soil is having a problem. So I enhance my soil, I nourish my soil, and the weeds literally go away, and you get other species that start to have a foothold.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I love the idea of using that, what could be seen as undesirable as a signal from the planet or the body.
Everything is talking to us all the time.
Everything is talking to us. It's beautiful. So I noticed on your resume that you're trained in ozone therapy, which I was really interested in. I've done a lot of ozone. I'm an ozonaut. I'm a big believer as these days more of a therapeutic. I went through Lyme disease when I was younger and found benefit with different practitioners, but I just find it a great ROI, return on investment for a home device is very, very powerful. How do you use ozone therapy with animals?
Ozone is, I would say, my top two things that I do on a daily basis. So,
Okay.
on a prophylactic basis, just using rectal ozone is a wonderful modality. It gives the body a nice little boost. It stimulates glutathione production, our major antioxidant. It helps to improve oxygenation. There's so many benefits that it turns on the over 200 anti-inflammatory pathways. So really has a lot of wonderful benefits. And maybe just on a regular basis, a prophylactic basis, it could be once or twice a week, a little rectal ozone along with colon cleansing and some lymphatic therapy makes for a lovely daily, weekly type of regime that you go through for detoxification. Because with today's modern world, we are so inundated in toxins that you cannot wait to do detoxification. We have to support our organs of elimination. And
Yeah.
that's the kidney, the colon, the lungs, the liver, the skin. And I say lymphatics slash fascia because the fascia is so important in the body now, and the lymphatics run through the fascia. So it's very important that we support all of that. So that's one piece that we want to address is that whole detoxification piece. And ozone plays that wonderful role in helping us to detox. Then when we start having early symptoms of illness. Now, for us, we know our own body. So if you start feeling a scratchy throat or you start to have a little GI upset, it's a wonderful opportunity to start with rectal ozone. For the pets, it's very similar. We have something called ADR. It stands for Ain't Doing Right. And sometimes pet parents come in and they go, they're just not right. There's something wrong. I don't know exactly what it is. And so that's our ADR cases. And of course, we try to do a workup on them. We try to find the source of the problem. But at the end of the day, before they leave our office, they've had at least rectal ozone. We also use ozone intra-articularly. So when we have anterior cruciate ruptures or any kind of a joint problem, we'll use it intra-articular. We can inject it under the skin. We can inject it in acupuncture points. We can put it into the bladder or any orifice. So we do insufflation, of course. It could be vaginal. It could be in the bladder. We also use it intravenously. So we'll take a little bit of blood and we ozonate it, dilute it with some saline. I like to do also what's called major autohemotherapy. So we expose it to blue light and then we put it back into the patient. So now it's a powerhouse of antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. It's a pro-oxidant when we use it that way, but has just tremendous benefits in the body. We're going to lose antibiotics. I don't know if you know this, Freddie, but antibiotics, they say, according to the American Medical Association, less than 15 years. And we will not
Yeah.
have the use of antibiotics because the resistance rates are becoming so high right now.
I have a friend from my high school right now that's dealing with an antibiotic resistant strain of bacteria that's infecting his leg. They've cut out big pieces of his leg. It just keeps coming back. It's really, yeah. I mean, I see that, and I have personal experience with that.
Yeah. So limb bagging for your friend, because
Right.
ozone has no
Right.
resistance. And limb bagging is where
Yeah.
you take a limb and you put it literally in a bag and then you flow ozone through there so that the extremity is just being flooded. It is like living in a swimming pool of ozone gas. We can also do ozonated fluids as a rinse. And there was one more that I had thought of when you had said that, but ozone doesn't have any resistance. So being able to lavage or do limb bagging with a situation like that is so powerful. We also use ozone creams. So just recently had a dog with an anal fistula, which is like a wound, a deep track that goes
Yes.
into the tissue. And so we're just packing that with ozone cream and we already see an improvement. So there's
Yeah.
so many different ways that we can utilize this and it's so safe. And like anything, you could cause harm. But if you use it properly, it really is a very beneficial tool.
Yeah. So micrograms. So like I tend to if I use a nasal insufflation once in a while, if I go out to an Airbnb and I think it's moldy, I'll come back and I'll do a few days of a nasal insufflation. I'll generally do a lower concentration, like sinuses are sensitive tissues, like a 10 to 17, something like that.
Yeah, I would say 15 to 20, absolutely. And I just want to make a mention to the listeners that you're bubbling that through oil, you're not breathing it straight
Right.
because it is
Right.
toxic if you breathe it straight. So that was the other one I was thinking of is actually bubbling it through oils and then creating ozonides. It's a molecular change. And so that is safe to breathe. But we have a dog, a lot of skin diseases, or we see a lot of skin problems. And we do an ozone bath, which is really cool.
Mm.
And so we
Yep. You got a
ozonate the
bubbler.
water, bubble it through the water, and then we get a good concentration in the water, and then we just soak the animal in that.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I actually just was talking to somebody's doing, I can't say who, someone is producing an ozone documentary and they're starting to get the ball rolling, but it's so needed. So
Oh, that's
needed. Yeah.
interesting because we just started working on creating our documentary, which is Furr, Forever
Uh-huh.
Faithful, and it's all about pet longevity.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So let's talk pet longevity. If we look at the world, if we look at the world of longevity in human beings, we're doing some really cool stuff right now. Even 5 years ago, I have so many friends with full body red light panels now that you never would have thought. They're like, what are you doing in front of that thing? I'm like, charging up. So what are we doing for pets in the longevity
I'm
market?
back up that question because a lot of people will use the same pill for ill, diet for the disease, and now we're using a modality to fix the problem, but they're not
Mm-hmm.
fixing the root cause of the problem. So, guys,
Right.
we're building a house, we're building a structure, and we have to build it from the foundation up. So, step number one, I have a 6-step system. Step number one is we have to stop doing the things that are causing the problem. So we
Yeah.
need to quit feeding processed foods. We need to have good, healthy, filtered, structured water. We need to clean up the environment, both mold and EMF. We need to make sure the products that are touching our pets' bodies are good products. They don't have petroleum based products in there, and there's not hormones, chemicals, and pesticides. So everything that is in our capacity to control, we need to do that, including the ants in our brains. And those are our automatic negative thoughts that we talked about earlier, because then we create these neurotransmitters in response to those negative thoughts. And our pets are in training to the energy that produces,
Mm.
which is very, very negative. All right, so that's step number one. Stop doing the things that are causing the problem. Step number two is provide the essential nutrients. And we already talked about the essential nutrients being the vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, amino acids. But these are not synthetics. These are the plant-based fatty acids that make up the cell membrane. They're very specific, and they have to come in through the diet. Step number three, we heal the leaky gut. And I believe in today's modern day that we all have leaky gut to some degree. The ones that are really severe are the ones that we really have to make sure that we fix, because when that gut's leaky, it's like taking a piece of cheesecloth and punching holes into it. And if I'm
Yes.
straining my chicken soup and all I want is the broth, but my cheesecloth has holes in it, I'm going to get herbs that fall through and maybe vegetables, depending on the size. And that's what's happening in the body. This gut membrane that was designed to filter and only allow a certain size molecule in is now allowing other size molecules in, sometimes undigested foods, sometimes hormones or chemicals or pesticides. Whatever that is, it comes into the body, it's carried by the bloodstream to the liver. And Mr. Liver, who has many jobs, one of them is to mount an inflammatory response against the invaders, which is fabulous. That's how we've survived for this long, is because
Yeah.
we have the ability to mount an inflammatory response and get rid of the invader. Problem is that that invader is coming in 24/7. It never has a chance for the army to go back and turn off. So we have
Yeah.
this constant inflammation, which then leads to all those chronic degenerative diseases.
Yeah.
So we have to heal the leaky gut. And then number five is detoxification of the six organs that we already talked about, and how important it is to, if that's not, you do it once in a while. This is a daily experience. And I'm actually opening detox centers for pets and parents. That's how important this is. So when you go to spas, family wellness centers, it's so that you can get into a parasympathetic state and then you detox your six organs of elimination. So really, really important. Number five is supporting the mitochondria. And there's a lot of biohacking. There's your red light. There's your different supplements that help to support the energy production cycle, the Krebs cycle, and many, many things that we can do to help expand the fourth phase of water and make sure that we're making as much energy as possible from our mitochondria. And then number six is clearing trapped emotions. So that's the blueprint that I use. Within that blueprint are all the biohacking things that we do. For instance, ozone is involved in many applications of that sixth step that we just talked about. It's a redox signaling molecule. It's also the pro-oxidant. It's the oxidative stress. It's making more the glutathione so we can make more response to the free radicals that are being produced. There's so many metabolic effects that it's doing. And it's ozone is actually made by the mitochondria as part of the ATP
Yeah.
production. So it is a natural part of our body. How cool is that?
Yeah.
So now it's about utilizing it in its best form.
Yeah. Amen. Those are all such great points.
Yeah,
Have you ever used molecular hydrogen with animals?
it is my number one water source.
It's the number one.
Yeah,
Okay. So we got
yeah.
ozone, we got hydrogen in there.
Yeah. Now, there's a particular system. I won't say name on air, but if anybody wants to contact me, I'll happy to give you who
You can
I
say it
use.
if you want. It's fine.
No, I'll do it later.
All right.
And the reason is that this is going to live in perpetuity. And sometimes companies change. But I've been
Sure.
using a particular company for 5 years. So right now I can tell you it's the best company I've ever dealt with. And
Mm-hmm.
but who knows what's going to happen in 4 years? There may be something bigger, better. Who knows? So I just would like
Yep.
to stay more current and leave this to knowledge and not support a particular product.
I love it.
But hydrogen water is so important because in today's modern lifestyle, we're producing so many free radicals. They are
Mm-hmm.
OH minus, and we're producing so many that we can't keep up with our diet with enough antioxidants. You mean physically could not eat enough food to do that. And hydrogen is the donor. So it's going back to our chemistry, it's H plus, and it
Yep.
binds with an OH minus to produce a water molecule. And it produces a structured water molecule in the body. So it's even better. So that's definitely one of my big tools. But water is super, super important in our process. That was when I talked about stop doing the things that are causing the problem. I
Yeah.
said food, and I said water was right behind it. And water for me has to be highly filtered because of the glyphosate and the heavy metals that are in there. You don't need to burden your body with that and then have to detox it. Just don't put it in to begin with. And then have it structured so the body doesn't have to go through all the energy it takes to restructure it. So when we drink a glass of tap water, that's not structured. And when you drink that, your body, in order to utilize it, has to structure it. So now you're taking metabolic energy and diverting it to just structuring the water. Now it can't do other things that would have been better served. Right? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my brain was I was like, when was the last glass of tap water? I actually think I just had to do it. I think I was in a hotel in Scottsdale and I couldn't get water I know, it was so dry. I think I was like, I'm doing it. But it's been 15 years or something like that.
So
It's been
I
a
buy
long time.
I have a pitcher that filters it. It's a carbon-based filter, and I
Yeah.
travel with this. I just came from Asia. I made my
Yeah.
own water the whole time I traveled. And
Yeah.
so I have my pitcher that filters it, and then I have a little device. It's just has these balls inside of it, and when the water goes in, it creates a vortex and it
Yep.
spins it, and that
Yep.
creates the structure. And then the third way I structure water is I use my stainless steel plates that I mentioned, that the ones that deflect or they change incoherent light to coherent light. It also, you can put your water or your plate of food over that stainless steel plate and it will structure it. It sends out like a vortex beam. And then the other hack sometimes is just getting organic herbs and then putting that in your water. So it could be
Yeah.
organic herbs, it could be organic fruits, but if they're organic, the water in them is already structured by the sun.
That's
So when the
right.
sun hits them first thing in the morning in that dew, it creates that whole photosynthesis action and it structures the water within that plant. So now if you eat that plant and it's structured, you're getting that structured water.
Yeah. We're just following the rules of nature that they've laid out for us.
It really is so simple. We keep wanting to make it faster, cheaper, and easier. And it'd be nice if we could do fast, cheap, and easy, but we pay a price for that. So now we
I
got to get
know.
back to the basics. Go outside, be barefoot, pull some weeds, support your microbiome, eat healthy. It's not hard. It's just we have to make a life choice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not in the know, though. I think that we've been long indoctrinated to think,
Right.
yeah, there's a malady and we go to the doctor only when we're sick and we don't need to do anything to be healthy, that it's a God
Yeah.
given right. But I would say there's a cost with all these modern luxuries that we live and breathe in and are
Oh,
bathed in.
100%. Our pets are paying the better price of that. But with podcasts like yourself and people like myself being willing to get out there and teach and speak and our social media, we're reaching more and more people. So I think we can win. I think we can actually turn this thing around with our
Yeah.
intention and our actions.
Yeah, as I said, I've seen people reached out in the last couple years that I'd never thought would have this conversation. People message me saying, "Look what I'm doing. I'm in an ice bath. Look what I'm doing. I'm fasting." Or there is a massive movement of people who are tired and they're tired of being sick. I want to get in just a little bit, and I know you have a busy schedule. I know you have pets under your
No worries.
care, so I want to be mindful of your time. Dr. Siegel, can we talk about oncology and pets for a little bit? And I would love to know, because I have no understanding, what does the treatment of cancer look like in an animal? How is that different from a human?
That is a great question. It's a big question.
Huge.
The beginning of it is the 6 steps. I always start with that. Every
Okay.
single consult I do, I require the owner to take our Empowered Pet Parent course, which lays it out. It's just so much more effective for them to see it because in that course, I show befores and afters as well, not just cancer, all kinds of diseases. But I help to really educate them. That old saying, you can give somebody a fish and they eat for a day, and then you teach them how to fish and it's for life. So that's what I truly model after. I want people to really understand the biology of that pet's body and why they're making the choices that they're making. Because without that, they inadvertently make mistakes, which could counter everything we're trying to do. And with a cancer patient, imagine a cup. And when the cup is empty, all that space in the cup is the wiggle room that you have to make mistakes. But when you're dealing with cancer, that cup has reached its maximum, and the next drop that you put in there, it's going to overflow. That's your cancer patient. They can't afford another drop of toxicity. So it's really important that parents understand how many things that they have to look at in their own environment. I'm not in their house, but they have to go through that process of diet, water, air quality, environmental cleaners, EMF, all of that in order to clean that up. And then I make sure that we have the essential nutrients, we're healing the leaky gut, that we're detoxing the organs elimination. And I will tell you, when you hear a lot of people say, oh, I've had a Herxheimer reaction, or my dog got more sick when they started treating, a majority of the time it's because the detox organs can't handle what you're eliminating. And so now they're maxed out, and you add one more thing, and now that animal is just circulating more toxins instead of getting rid of it. So detoxification is our first stop in that healing process. We get them in a parasympathetic state. So I have a PEMF machinery and other things that help to get my patient parasympathetic. And then we start detoxification, going through all 6 steps, making sure that we have all the nutrients on board, that we're looking at the mitochondria being healthy, that detoxification is working. I'm working on the parents for the ants in their brain. And now we start going into identifying what are the deficiencies, what are the toxicities. We do genetic mapping for our patients, so we are able to identify what are some of the genetic mutations that they have. We use a lot of natural products that work in the biochemical pathway. As an example, B17 or amygdalin, been around for a very long time. It's in a lot of our foods. It's in loquat leaves. It's in mung beans. It's in apricot pits and many other pits as well. So this is not something that we're making up. This is what is God-given, nature-given, but we're just not eating a lot of the foods that have B17 in it. So therefore, we become deficient in it. That's just one example. So we use products that help to supplement that, which works with inside one of the pathways that helps to kill abnormal cells. So we have all these mechanisms are already in our body. The endocannabinoid system, we didn't make it. It's already there. We're just deficient. We're light deficient because people aren't getting outside enough. So a lot of the modalities that we use when it comes to, we go through all 6 steps, and then we start doing the specific things that are necessary. So ozone, hyperbaric oxygen, lymphatic therapy, fascia work. We do a lot of photodynamic therapy. This is probably the biggest thing that I do. And that's where we give a photoactivator. It's a natural compound. It could be curcumin. It could be riboflavin. It could be vitamin C. There's a variety of different things, hypericin. There's many things that can be photoactivated. They are given either orally or intravenously. And then we give a wavelength of color that will activate it. So just imagine if you have a molecule, and when it's just sitting there, it does good. But when you activate it and it becomes more powerful, more energetic, more enzymatically active, then it does a lot more work. That's what we're doing with these compounds, where we're introducing the compounds, they're selectively they're accumulating in the abnormal cells. And then when we photoactivate them with the right wavelength of light, they become more active, and it causes the cell to die, creates reactive oxygen species, and kills the abnormal cells. We can give this light intravenously, intraarticular, intracelomic, intralesional, or topical.
Wow. So is that not dissimilar from doing like a dose of methylene blue and then being exposed to like a red light?
It's exactly, that is photodynamic therapy. Now, we
Got it.
can't use methylene blue, and well, methylene blue is a synthetic molecule, but it activates the 4th point of the Krebs cycle. So it's phenomenal for helping to make more energy in people. But in cats, it's very toxic, so we can't use it in cats. And in dogs, I only use it topically. So there are some nuances. Methylene blue would
Yeah.
not be something I would give to your pet.
No.
Absolutely not orally. If
There
you're
you
using
go. You heard it here
for
first.
you. But these are some of the nuanced differences that are good to
Yeah.
talk about, because even though I'm taking and adapting a lot of the things that we use on the human side to the animals, there are some things that would be lethal that we don't want to do.
Yeah. And what about like a later stage cancer progression? Is this something where pets are still doing surgery for tumor removal, still doing chemotherapy, radiation?
So it all depends. Every case is different. Sometimes it is warranted to debulk a tumor or try to remove
Hmm.
the bulk of it, but then we don't stop with that. We continue with doing work that's going to reduce or eliminate the cancer stem cells. So sometimes the burden is so big that you just have to reduce the burden.
Mm.
Hemangiosarcoma that's in a spleen or a liver, if it's in the spleen and it has a chance of rupturing, it's too dangerous to leave it there because it may rupture and then you have an acute death. So each situation has to be evaluated for the right thing to do, but surgery is still an option. I don't use much in the way of chemotherapy because I find that my modalities work. But again, it's based on each individual. We use mistletoe. In addition, the list goes on and on and on of the
Sure.
things. I work inside the mitochondria. I work inside the Krebs cycle. I work inside the existing cancer pathways, the anti-cancer pathways, so that I can turn them on and help them to support what we're doing. And the whole goal is to cause the cancer cells to die without causing a lot of side effects to the patient.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest difference between what I do and what the allopathic world does is their drugs can have tremendous side effects. What I do has minimal to none side effects, and they're safe and they're effective. But we're also seeing turbo cancers now, Freddie, which are just accelerating past what I saw even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So we have to start really creating the lifestyle and start mitigating the amount of things that are causing these cancers. And we as a society have to band together and start saying no. Like if we all just quit buying any products that are touched by glyphosate, whether it's our lawn products or our food products, if we just all boycotted it in 1 month, they would be out of business because they're using our
Yeah.
dollars to keep going. So
100%.
really, we at some point we have to look in the mirror and go, who's responsible here? And we have to make choices. I'm not a fan of Amazon based on the company and who they are. So I don't want to have all of my eggs in one basket. I want to support local people and local businesses. So I try to avoid Amazon. And people go, oh, but it's so convenient. I go, yeah, it's convenient. But what happens the day that you need something and they say, I'm sorry, you didn't behave properly. We're going to cut you off.
Yeah.
It's feasible. It's happening in China.
Yeah.
So we have to really start waking up and taking control and realize that it's our decisions. Don't look outside. This is this is more like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, right? She's looking for somebody to fix her problem, and her answer was within inside her the whole time.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I can't
That's
make
the
that
truth.
any easier, but I'm really passionate about that.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a life well lived, and it's certainly like an endeavor that is just needed so dearly across the board right now.
Yeah.
The one other question I wanted to ask you about, I remember reading a study about deuterium depleted water in pets and having a pretty dramatic impact on cancer. Is that something you have any awareness about or research around?
Sure. We make deuterium depleted water in our bodies.
Yes.
And again, it comes right back to the whole toxicity thing. So buying deuterium depleted water is extremely expensive. Why don't we
Hmm.
just encourage our body to make it? It's like,
Yeah.
but it's one piece. Like we talked about in the very beginning, we said we want that fast, cheap, and convenient. We want the one stop, but there is no one stop. There is
Yeah.
changing your lifestyle, changing your mindset, cleaning up the environment, cleaning up the body, providing the right nutrients, turning on the pathways that were already there that we just aren't utilizing, and then letting the magic happen, letting the body do its thing. But that deuterium depleted water would be a tool in the toolkit. I just think it's extremely expensive and it's not the only thing. It's together in a lifestyle that it actually becomes most effective.
Yeah. Again, to your point, it's like we make it in the cell, but I remember reading this really dramatic study, and it was specifically around dogs and cancer, where it was a pretty wild recovery rate within this. It was like 100 dogs or something like that. I actually know a company they're going to try to make a month's supply for $99 because I know right now it's closer to like $700 a month. It's very,
Yeah.
very expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. And when there's other things that we can do that are going to be in the ladder, it's lower on the ladder ring that you need to change. You don't want to start at the top of the ladder. You got to start at the bottom. So
Yeah.
I think getting those essentials taken care of and then working your way up. And you may not find that you need it, but it's wonderful to know that it's out there. I would not start with that. I would start with hydrogen water.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I would agree with you. So we're almost to our hour here. I want to let you get back to work, but I do want to ask you a couple more closing questions.
Sure.
The Beautifully Broken podcast, what does it mean to you to be beautifully broken?
It means that we have figured out that everything that happens in our life happens for our highest and best good. It's all part of the guidance system that we came to this earth with. So when we have issues, whether they're emotional or physical, they're simply our world, our environment, our body speaking to us and giving us an opportunity to choose a different path, whether it's to view it differently, whether it's to experience differently. We can be the half empty or the half full. And so I think it really is a beautiful opportunity for us to look at our lives and go, wow, if my daughter had not had that accident with that horse, would I have eventually got here? And I think I would have. I think God would have figured out a way to catch my attention another way. And I think eventually it would have come around. But I chose to raise my hand and make those changes then. And for all of us, I think if we can look at our life as an opportunity, everything is an opportunity, even the ouchy things, they're the biggest opportunity because those are the ones that are really trying to get our attention and say, please, here is your chance to do something different. And it's simply even just experiencing it differently. And I'll add one more thing because I do talk about emotions in my course. And everything is a frequency. We're a frequency, and every emotion that we have is a frequency. So we have the low vibrating frequencies, the lowest being shame. And then we go through anger and frustration and bitterness and, whatever. And then you go over into the high vibrating side where there's compassion and love. And the highest vibration is actually gratitude. So you go from shame to gratitude, right? And I
Yep.
think part of the Earth School, a part of the game is to identify those low vibrating emotional moments that we have through the experience and then shifting them to the high side.
Yeah. Beautiful.
What a cool game would that be? Yeah.
Beautiful. Now I'm going to give you you get a magic wand. You can actually like open up a time portal and you can go back and you can give, when you're graduating high school, you can give your graduating 18-year-old self some advice. What would you say to her?
I would say that you are destined to be a very big influence in the world to come. And that is difficult as it may seem, there's always a solution and there's always a way to improve. And we're going to make the world a better place through the actions and choices that you are going to make. And just face them with a smile on your face and gratitude in your heart.
Amazing. And finally, Dr. Marlene Siegel, where do people go to learn more about your work, the courses that you offer? And sounds like you might have a really good link to some pet food.
Yes, that was the easiest of the three questions. So that, I really like the fact that you didn't warn me, Freddie, and that was impromptu because that was really cool. Thank you.
Yes.
Where to find me? drmarlenesiegel.com, and just have to spell my name right. And that is the hub of everything me. So the courses are there. There's a fascia decompression course. We didn't speak a lot about fascia, maybe at another time, but that's really cool. I have an online store with all the products and our food and our supplements, a lot of education, tons of blogs, tons of articles. Please just sign up for our newsletter because we put out amazing content. Instagram YouTube, all the social media. We're on all of that, and we really produce a massive amount of amazing material. And then last but not least, of course, would be considering doing our Empowered Pet Parent course, because it is life-changing. And like you just said yourself, here you are in this world and not 100% understanding how to apply it to the fur world. So that's what
Yeah,
I do.
not at all. I don't know the fur world even a little bit.
And, I'm friends with Robert Scott Bell and many other of the leading influencers on the human side. And every single one of them said, oh my gosh, I didn't think on how to apply it to my pet. So
Yeah.
that's what I do for a living. That's my wheelhouse. And the course is amazing. It's 3 hours, but it's broken up into 10-minute segments, very consumable, but it will change people's lives, both their pets' lives, their lives, and ultimately Mother Earth, because as we make better decisions and we make better choices, we quit polluting Mother Earth and damaging Mother Earth as well.
So many great nuggets from this podcast. I can't wait for people to get the download when we launch the airwaves. We'll definitely have you back. I would love to have you back, and we'll just talk about fascia.
Ooh, I could do hours on fascia, so that's wonderful.
We'll just do a fascia because that's a love topic of mine. Thank
Okay,
you
very
for
good.
being a guest today, and thank you for giving us your hour. Big love.
Oh, much gratitude. Bye.
Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and please leave us a review. 5 stars if you loved it. And before you leave, there is one big way you can continue the learning and the deepening of this relationship we started in this very episode. You can go to beautifullybroken.world and check out our brand new website store. Listed are all the wellness technologies, the supplements, the educational courses that I love and I personally use. Most of them offer significant discounts just by using the link or the discount code, which is normally Beautifully Broken. And they do support the podcast through affiliations. Now, we have a brand new feature. If you want to see the beautiful faces of our guests and watch me unbox and review products, you can head over to our new YouTube channel, Beautifully Broken World. I do have to tell you, our OnlyFans page is under construction, so stand by for that. This last announcement is from my vast team of internet lawyers. The information on this podcast is for educational purposes only. By listening, you agree not to use the information found here as medical advice to treat any medical condition in yourself or others, and you're always going to consult your physician for any medical issues that you may be having. My closing. The world is shifting. We need you at your very best. So please take the steps to always be upgrading. Remember, while life can be painful, putting the pieces back together is a beautiful process. I love ya. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel. Big love.